I'm Greg Greenwood and welcome to my studio. In this video, we're going to solve the problem of uneven sidewalls on cabochon stones by adjusting the bezel wires to match these uneven walls. Most cabochon stones have even sidewalls and your bezel wire heights are very straightforward. But what do you do if that perfect stone is weird and doesn't conform to the normal bezel height? Let's solve that problem right now. I'm going to assume that you know how to make a bezel cup. If not, you can check out my two-part video series on bezel settings. I'll put a link at the end of this video for your convenience. Check it out. This is the stone we'll be using. I've chosen it because it does have an irregular wall. It undulates around and dips down in a couple of areas on the stone, varying from about 6 millimeters all the way down to about 3 millimeters. I've made the bezel cup out of 1/4 inch tall bezel wire or 6.35 millimeter tall bezel wire. This way we'll have plenty of material to work with when we start sculpting the bezel wire. To work on the bezel cup, I'd like to keep it nice and rigid. So I've taken and I've attached it to a dowel rod and used my thermal lock on top of the dowel rod and then stuck the bezel cup into the thermal lock and then let it cool, and this will keep it nice and solid for us to work. Now we'll put our dental floss across the bezel cup. This is so we can remove the stone after it's inserted. Insert the stone into the bezel cup with the dental floss in there. Push it down nice and secure. Now that we have it chucked up in the vise and it's nice and solid, I'm going to take my scribe and go on the inside of the bezel wire and go just above the sidewall onto the shoulder of the stone and make a mark through here as to just above the sidewall. So there'll be enough of the bezel wire after we sculpt this down to push over the shoulder of the stone and hold it in position. The tools in this part of the operation all depend on what you're comfortable with. The basic tool that you can use is a half round file, and you start filing that bezel wire down and follow the mark on the inside of the bezel wire. Just take your file and start filing it by hand. You can use a needle file also, and I like to use the half rounds because we're going down as a nice smooth dip, and if you used a straight file or anything that had a sharp edge to it, you would get marks in it and it would not be even. Use that half round file is best. You can, if you're comfortable, you can use an emery burr on your flexible shaft. This will take it a little bit faster and it will grind it down, so be very careful using the flexible shaft, but this can go much faster for you. Or you can use a finishing barrel burr. This one is nice and smooth and it won't take a lot off at a time, but it keeps from grabbing onto the bezel wire. Whenever you're using the flexible shaft and any burrs, make sure that you do wear safety goggles. This is very important because all the little findings can fly up into your eyes. Just take it slow and easy and pull toward you. Now that we have the majority of it ground down with the drum burr, it leaves quite a kind of a rough edge here. So we'll just take our needle file and smooth off those edges. I'm not going to take off very much. I just want to kind of take off the extra burrs that may be on there, so when we put our stone in, we don't get burrs stuck into the stone. You can also use a hollow scraper and get in there and just scrape all those edges right out of there, those burrs. Now let's put our dental floss across here again. Put our stone in. Make sure we get the right size up. Slide it in. And then we can check the height to see if we have to take off any more. Now, it looks like right in this area here, we're going to have to take a little bit more off here. This area looks good here. And this area maybe just a touch more through here. So we can pull our stone out and do a little bit more filing on it. The top edge of the bezel is going to be rather rough from the filing and the burring. We want to make sure that we smooth that down, and the filing will still leave that rough edge. So you can take a felt wheel on the flexible shaft, either kind of a round one like this or a bud-shaped one, and work on the edges. You can use a split mandrel with emery paper on it and go ahead and smooth that on out. This can be rather aggressive, so be careful of doing this. Or you can go back to our old favorite, our buff stick with some emery paper on it, and take it slow and easy. And this one is a round buff stick, so we can go ahead and just take those edges and smooth them right down. Or you just go ahead and take emery cloth or emery paper on your hand and smooth that down also. Just as long as we get it nice and smooth and it flows beautifully. Here's our bezel cup. Now that it's been polished, the top edge has been polished. I polished a little bit on the outside of the bezel cup also. You can see there's quite a dramatic difference there in that nice dip. Double check the size with the stone, and it looks like we're all set. So we're ready to set the stone. Now we're ready to set the bezel with the bezel rocker. Remember, you go from one side to the other side, and then go to the other quarter, and then the other quarter. So back and forth across the stone. You don't want to start in one spot and go all the way around. Back and forth across the stone. Now you can push down straight down on top of the bezel with your burnisher and work your way all the way around the stone, and this will polish that top edge also. Here's our finished bezel. We've solved the problem of the uneven sidewalls by sculpting the bezel to fit. You can do the same on any stone. Don't be afraid to experiment. Use your imagination and let your creative ideas flow, and you will be rewarded with beautifully set stones.